Hi, everybody. Welcome to our webinar, How to Kill Your Agile Transformation, a Leadership Guide. We're glad you could join us today. A little bit about us. My name is Greg Prickrell. I'm one of the co-founders at Career.pm. I've been in product management for about 20 years, mainly at really big software vendors. I have done the lean and agile and scrum things multiple times. I do some speaking here and there. We have a podcast and so forth. But I guess that's the most critical information about me, Wolfgang.
Hello, thanks, Greg. Yes, I'm Wolfgang Hilpert. I'm the founder of Sensible Agility. And I've also been doing products from innovating drawing board ideas all the way through adoption, delivering, and as well as sanitizing, or even in some cases, replacing products at different companies, different sizes, from small startup, large companies, as well as mid-sized companies. And really have gotten passionate about this agile thingy as a key element in my toolbox. I've really led and initiated about 4 major transformations within different companies, and I'm still eager to continue to learn. And yes, I do speak every now and then, have a bit of a video channel, and I'm engaged in a bunch of coaching and advisory activities.
Cool. So what is our agenda today? We'll talk about who this webinar is for, what is an agile transformation, and then we'll get right to the quickest ways you as a leader can kill your agile transformation. And we see this as the first installment in a series of webinars on this topic. So we'll talk a little bit about what is coming next. So who is this for? We see that really go-getters, motivated leaders who want to kill this agile thing before it gets disruptive as a key audience. Some people are just impatient. We get that. You can watch an agile transformation die slowly. We want to teach you how to get right to it. And then, of course, we assume out there's a few holdouts, champions of waterfall and strict hierarchies, who are patiently waiting for the pendulum to swing back from all this agility to the world that they know. We hope we've tried to design this so that it will be informative for all those folks. And I guess the kind of catchphrase, or if I were to reduce this to a single thought, anybody can sit around and watch an agile transformation die slowly. If you want it to happen quickly, that really is going to take some planning and effort. And I guess the first step is awareness. So we hope today you will leave with a new awareness of some of the most effective ways to kill your agile transformation. And we should probably level set on this basic idea. Wolfgang, do you want to take us through what an agile transformation is?
Right. Thanks, Greg. So hopefully most of you following the subject are aware and have a sound understanding of what it is. However, for those that may not have, just get it out there. We think about an agile transformation as finding better ways to really deliver the value to your customers in a more systemic and more predictable way, with an engaged workforce that is really fully behind this, driving a healthy business performance, and obviously based on agile methods and practices for real, and not just kind of like as a showcase or a window dressing. And a key part of that is becoming really a learning organization that keeps rigorously improving their way of working by fully recognizing where they have room for improvement and going about it, and do better and better value creation and delivery to their customers as a result. Right. And so some of the goals you probably are aware of already, or have found different lists of items that you would put on the list. But here are very common ones that we've seen with our customers or companies we've worked at. It is ultimately about changing better to what your competitors are doing, or responding better to what your competitors are doing, and being faster at delivering what the customers would value and would buy from you and want to bang your doors for getting more from you. Doing that with teams that are fully empowered to really apply the best of their insights as rapidly and as diligently as possible and drive the innovation. The innovation could be in products and the processes and whatever it is, and the customer interaction. And ultimately, it is about building trust. And how do you build trust with customers? Well, you're delivering obviously the value, but do it in a consistent and a predictable manner, and ultimately have a very promising, a very attractive price per value, or value per cost ratio, by lowering your costs, by not just squeezing costs out here and there, but really systematically look for opportunities to avoid having to rework items, right? By reducing rework, that speaks to the quality you build into the product, etc. To find a better fit to your product to the market, to the customer needs, by increasing the feedback cycle speed, etc.
So very good, Wolfgang. I think we understand what an agile transformation is, what it's trying to achieve. Let's get right to the 5 most effective ways to kill an agile transformation as a leader.
That's right.
And the first one I'm really excited to address, this is a great one, and that is to manage this transformation using outdated models like waterfall approaches. It's really brilliant. If you take something that can be as disruptive as an agile transformation and then confine it to something as inflexible and inappropriate as waterfall, you can kill this thing before it even gets started. So just treat it like another old-fashioned project, set a start date, an end date, have people reporting progress based on predefined milestones that don't change. I think it can be super effective to just to publish a plan and stick to it no matter what, not adapt. Don't try anything new. If you can avoid people trying new things, there's a really good chance that the combination of the waterfall approach and traditional methods of executing the transformation will really doom it to failure before it ever gets started.
Right, and it will particularly ensure that there's no learning on the way, right?
That's a really important one. Make sure that there's no attempt to do any organizational learning, no retrospectives, no attempt to improve. That is a great way to kill this thing. Really kind of hobble it before it ever gets any momentum at all. Where we've seen an example of this was a global logistics company, and they used this brilliant term, initiative. We've all been conditioned to know that an initiative is going to disrupt our lives for some period of time, but then it will go away and we can go right back to doing things the way we used to. And certainly, to a great extent, that's what happened here. There, from the board, there was 12 months to become fully agile. After that 12 months, the organization was done. It was agile. So, this isn't just our opinion. We have really seen these approaches successfully kill multi-million-dollar efforts to implement an agile approach.
That's right.
The next one, this is really good, is what we call vanity empowerment. So I would say one of the cornerstones of an agile approach is allowing the people doing the work to determine how long it will take, to determine its value, to self-organize, to perform work in the most efficient manner. And here what we suggest is that you talk a lot about empowering the teams, but behind the scenes don't really do it. So tell them that they're going to be self-managing, but still manage them top down, command and control. This really has a negative effect on just general kind of work motivation. Very unmotivational to be told one thing and then realize that nothing is really changing, that you're not being valued as a person, that your input doesn't matter, that in the end, everything is date driven. So I'm not sure if it's as powerful as the first option, but this is a really good one too, if you just want to kill morale. And that is an important step in really containing Agile before it infects your entire organization. Where have we seen that happen? Yeah, global well-known security company allowed the folks that were so inclined to play with Agile in their little sandbox, but on the outside they were still doing the same kind of reporting. We're still had the same top-down expectations and planning that weren't based on the knowledge of the people doing the work. And certainly in this case, it significantly compromised the value of the Agile efforts. So again, we've seen this work effectively. Wolfgang, maybe you want to take this
Yeah.
one?
Oh yeah, and this is comes close to my favorite one. It's when actually Agile gets used, or should I say abused, is the broom to just clean up the engineering, right? They don't have their act together. Go push through them this Agile thing, and that'll clean things up. Now they get their act together, and we can, mark this done. We don't have to worry about it. So it doesn't affect us as leaders. We have no involvement. There's no change, nothing. So we really nicely contain that to the Agile. It is coming from the engineers anyway, right? If there is a cry for Agile, it's coming from them. So give them what they're crying for, but do it in a way that maybe they don't like as much. They get tired of, and then we can put it to rest before, as you said in the other cases, before it takes too much of a momentum. And one of the best ways to do this is actually to shoehorn it, the Agile piece, into an otherwise very much plan-driven, waterfall-minded environment, right? So they can't get any of these wiggle room or freedom momentums that they were striving for anyway. Right. And yeah, we've seen this in a global workspace management vendor company that successfully adopted Agile in their engineering practices. However, once they were done with this transformation, they were just finding out that all the other parts of the business, the other lines of business, marketing, sales, finance, people's or HR, couldn't really catch up with this. They were caught off guard and severely limited the value the company could have gotten out of this transformation, out of this improvement. So essentially, it's arguably even it failed.
Yeah, I mean, if you are more consistently and more quickly delivering value to the market, but it's not getting positioned with prospects, it's not getting sold, you can really limit the impact of
right.
Yeah,
or
engineering investment you've made.
If your budgeting still runs very much in a 12-month, right, rigorous cycle, then how would you want to seize on opportunities that came midstream? You don't, right? So, and that is a nice segue actually into the next one, the sticking really to a plan-driven execution, right? So retain this project plan, this milestones, right? Focus on output. It's only about efficiency, right? I'm pushing more onto your desk and you see how you can cope with it. I'm just managing that execution. Budgets is still very much, the power that I have over you. The best way to do this is also with component teams. So there's lots of stick to those rigorous and maybe traditional or maybe outdated structures so that there's no real value flowing through the system, at least not visibly, right? You still have a lot of negotiation and often reasons for things going wrong, people getting angry, lots of heat being spurred up rather than results or outcomes being driven. Oh, and then the best one is just do temporary staffing before a team gets too comfortable, gets too known with each other and becomes a high performer. No. Turn them off into different corners of the business and let's reassemble them, right, before they get too good at it. So that way, you ensure there is no momentum, there is no credibility for this Agile thing to grow before it becomes too successful.
Yeah, Wolfgang, I think if the organization identifies the outcomes that they want, and the teams start organizing to generate those outcomes, it becomes much more difficult to kill the agile
That's right.
transformation once
And
it
it's too
starts
late.
delivering value. So this is when you want to think about early in the process.
Yeah, yeah. And just for those that might not be yet fully aware or have maybe forgotten about it, the key difference between the push and the pull model, right? So you have the traditional push systems where it's actually coming top down, right, in a command and control style, micromanagement, right? I'll tell you what all things you have to do. You don't have to think, you just have to work, right? And I push, I only am worried about the resource utilization. A resource could be a pen, a machine, or a person, doesn't matter. It's just a resource, right? And I just push to keep it busy and busy, as opposed to I'm actually putting things in an order. I prioritize what they have to do and then let them, when they're ready, pull the next thing. So I avoid overworking the system. Don't let that happen, because they might actually get better at it. They might actually get creative and think about what are impediments that they could move out so that they gain speed and get even better. Don't let that happen, right? So keep pushing, keep pushing. If you're interested, check out the video that we've linked. That really drives the point even further home. Yeah, and these dysfunctions we've seen in various companies where operational leadership that's all about execution is requiring this full-blown traditional project plan, even for an agile transformation itself, right? With milestones and weekly status reports. What did you do, right? To monitor the progress of the transformation, left alone. Was there any outcome that we were after? How are we doing in terms of approaching these intended outcomes? Doesn't matter. Do you meet your execution milestones that you've laid out maybe 12 months ago? That's the only measure of success. Right?
Yeah, so
Do that and you'll frustrate anybody who is the change agent trying to make things better here.
and I really see this theme, Wolfgang, of marginalizing the agile transformation as just like this temporary kind of planned thing
Yeah.
before it actually impacts culture. Again, once you let it impact the culture, you're going to find it's much more difficult to kill it, to get rid of it.
Yes. Oh, and then this is maybe another subtle, but if you think about it, fairly profound point to really shoot this. You could even consider this the silver bullet. When you're doing this as an organization the first time, some people might have, maybe had experience somewhere else before, but certainly not in this same context. So without them getting help from the outside, they're very likely to find somewhere a problem that they really bang their head against the wall and it dies there. They get frustrated, the whole company gets frustrated, the whole thing goes upside down. So don't get any help in from the outside, right? We've seen that there was a tools machinery manufacturer that established a spin-off business to really build an IoT platform and aspired to do that by adopting Agile, becoming obviously a modern, much more efficient and effective way of producing this. And yeah, they went through the motions. So I've seen sprint reviews there, except there was really no clarity about what a done user story was all about. So even though they kept going through the motions, they didn't really change much essentially in their way of working or in how they accomplished things, but they claim to be agile.
Yeah, these people from the outside who have success stories, or even as importantly, more importantly, have seen failures, can really influence people. They tend to be very, very persuasive. So you're best served if you just keep these external perspectives out of the transition and go with a bunch of people who have never been through it, can't be objective because they're kind of part of the, culture, part of the system. So be very careful about getting help. Help is a super effective way to actually make Agile work. So I think you would want to avoid that. Those were our top 5. There are a bunch of ways you as a leader can help kill an Agile transformation. This is, some of the things that get special mention. Note again, this emphasis on treating a cultural transformation as just a project. Make sure that you preserve the most important parts of company culture. Don't ruffle any feathers. Don't change the power structure. Don't empower the people who do the work. And yeah, a great way is just to kind of subvert it by, yeah, adapting Agile to fit your culture instead of the other way around.
That's right.
You know, just take the same old things you've been doing, call them by new names. That's a really good one.
Yeah.
You don't have to change anything. After a while, people will get really frustrated. They will blame Agile instead of your messed up
That's right.
culture.
Yes.
So again, other ways to do it. We picked the top five, the best we could. Yeah, you know, obviously this is maybe too cynical for some people and a little bit silly. We thought it was an effective way to drive home that leadership plays an absolutely critical role in changing a culture. And that's what an agile transformation is. It's not just slapping a new practice on here or there, or measuring something differently, or creating some big dashboard. It's about fundamentally rethinking value and how you deliver value in your organization. And the other foot will fall. We will get a little more serious next time and talk about, you know, in a direct way, what you can do to, yeah, improve or the chances of successful
Yeah.
agile transformation.
Right. Yeah, this was fun, as you said, and maybe slightly silly. So now we're trying to shift gears and be, for a sec, a little bit more serious. So why do we see agile transformations fail? Well, typically, very often, there's the focus is only on the team level. While that will or has the potential to create real value, it falls short of what the value could really be, right? If you take a look at all the capabilities within a company and particularly across the functions. Another part is that the purpose of why are we even doing this is not really tied to business outcomes. It's much more like, oh, I read or I heard about Agile is the way to go. I have difficulties to maybe acquire new talents without doing this. So I better get along with and do it, but not too much, right? Execution is prioritized over learning, right? So if we're just committed to, this is the shoehorning of the non-agile frame around it, right? If we're expecting to do exactly what we've done before, just don't do it too much differently, we prevent the learning, and that's really cutting us off the real value and the improvement potential from such a transformation.
So, right,
Leader,
there are a bunch of reasons these things fail.
right,
And I think we will cover some of those
right.
in the webinars that are coming up. There is no shortage. You know, it's
Yeah,
a fairly
it gets
risky
more
endeavor. It's
serious as
cultural
you go,
transformation.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So we will revisit some of these and, of course, talk about uh, what you can do to avoid some of the things that we're talking about. So maybe you want to
yeah.
kind of tease a little bit what we'll cover in the next webinar.
Right. So one of the things, there was a webinar I've done once here with another fellow, with Simon Powers, to look at the prerequisites. So what are the things you want to do to even get in a good starting position? So get ready for liftoff, right? Gaining speed, gaining altitude, to prepare well for such an transformation. And that talks about really getting clarity about the why. What are you doing, who is going to be involved, and how you would do that, and align on these things at least to a decent level so that we're all moving in the same direction, right? Those, for example, are things we would talk about. There are other areas like, how do you think you bring better together in harmony and in good cycles between the discovery of what a potential need on the market, product opportunity is, right? Defining it, and then really delivering, getting it out deployed, right? Managing it, operating it. And how do you ensure that we do this on as tight as possible feedback loops, right? Those are areas that we will discover and
So
we'll
stay
talk about.
tuned. We'll be announcing dates for those things pretty soon.
Yep.
Thanks for your time. We would love to hear your feedback on the content, on our approach. Yeah, just drop us
Anything.
a line
Yep.
and stay tuned for the next installment.
Yep. Thank you. Mm-hmm.